Hey, Nation, Harry here. This is a special webinar during a special time supporting MSPs through the coronavirus crisis and some immediate things you can do to, I don't like to say take advantage of the opportunity, but I would say more get back to what we're known best for at SMB Nation over the years, and that is helping people. So that's really where we're coming from. And let's jump right into it. We got a lot to cover, and a little bit of housekeeping up front. Use the questions feature over on the dashboard to ask your questions. We want this to be as interactive as possible. Jenny is going to be a little more active this time than typical webinars over in the radio control room. So we're going to try, I'll talk about it later, but we're going to try to turn on your microphones towards the end of the webinar to make it a little bit more interactive. So we'll take the written question plus the oral questions. We'll see how that works, but double check your computers to see if you have a microphone capability to make it so. Certainly the phone would work as well. We have a webinar coming up on the 2nd of April. You'll be receiving an email on that. And then earlier today, you should have received an email about our online conference in early June. That was going to be a 2-day live in Denver. We've taken that to an online format. Check your inbox. We'll talk about that later. Let's get into it. We have introductions. For those I haven't met, strangers, we're friends. I'm Harry Brailsford, the founder and CEO of SMB Nation. And then that handsome individual over there on screen is Corey Munson. Sir, introduce yourself.
Hi, Harry. Thanks for having us in. I'm Corey Munson. I'm Vice President of Sales and Marketing at PCMatic.
All right, and we're keeping it 6 feet apart, probably 600 plus miles apart. But in any event, it looks like you're working from home, by the way.
Working from home, which I have done as a part of the company for over 15 years now. The company's been around for 20 years. In all 20 years, we've been very much virtual. So we've got 50 employees that are well-versed in the ins and outs of working from home.
All right, we'll talk about that more in a little while. And then we're also joined by Devin. Devin, hello, sir. What's going on?
Not too much. Thanks for having me. I apologize. I'm not up on the video like Corey's beautiful face is there. But for some reason, the one laptop that I have, the webcam doesn't seem to work. And yeah, like you said, we've been working from home for a long time, so I even put on a nice shirt and everything, and you can't even see me.
All right, well, let's get into it, folks. We're treating this as certainly informational, and there's an opportunity to work with PCMatic. We'll talk about that later. So with that said, let's hit it head on. The state of the world, how it relates to MSPs. Let's start with that one. So Corey, you've been pretty active the last couple of weeks. You reached out to us and wanted to have an immediate conversation with SMB Nation. So I'm going to ask you the question: what are you hearing out there with respect to MSPs?
You know, we've had quite a few conversations. We've really made an effort to reach out to our MSP partners and engage. And I think now that the maybe initial wave of shock has worn off, I think MSPs find themselves on the front lines, which I think becomes a twofold battle. Is one, how do they now best support their customers that in some cases are scrambling to deploy remote workforces and do that securely and efficiently. But I think they're also trying to come to grips with coping as a business owner. Maybe they've got their own resource issues now related to employees that can no longer come to work, and trying to navigate those waters along with trying to support their customers. The general sense is the MSPs we work with have never been busier, and they're just trying to find a way to do it efficiently now and cope.
Yeah, I would concur. Our research is showing that we're actually seeing two things. We're seeing that, and I would say that's the predominant case. We're seeing people, and maybe they're not full-on MSPs and they're not at the same maturity level, but we're seeing people where it's actually very quiet right now for them, right? It seems to be one or the other, and preferably we want to help people, we want to be busy, we want to be on that side of the aisle. But, Corey, much like just the general economy, with a lot of stores shut down, some people are finding it to be a little quieter than they would like. And then in talking with a few MSPs, you're also seeing people are kind of affected up here in the wetware. There's a certain anxiety. I can't put my fingers on. I mean, I'll tell my story. This morning, Corey, I just couldn't focus. And so I did my morning workout. I did my bike ride this morning instead of late this afternoon. And that worked for whatever reason, right? I just had to go exercise and I got my focus back, and I've had a productive day since. So I'm seeing a little bit of an emotional toll. I don't know if you're having that conversation, maybe yourself. I don't know.
Definitely, right? No doubt about it. I think that's a big piece of it. I exchanged an email overnight with one of our regional MSPs who said just that. There's an emotional component to this, both as a business owner and as somebody that's trying to support a whole network of customers that they've dealt with over the years. So how you emotionally wrap your arms around all of that, and then at the same time decide on how to move forward, that's a challenge into itself.
Hey, Jenny, if you wouldn't mind coming on, I think I see we have a comment from our friend Steve Banks in Port Orchard, Washington. I don't know if you'd be able to read that to the audience.
I'm actually going to try to make Steve live here, so just give me a second.
Oh, okay, we're going to go interactive sooner rather than later, and then we'll come back to the vendor piece, and I've got some insights on the broader vendor community. We'll also weave that into the conversation with PCMatic. So Stephen Banks, certainly hey man. All right, well, go ahead and make your statement. It wasn't so much a question, but go ahead and read your statement, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah, well, up here we elect out with a lot of our client base happen to be essential businesses according to the state of Washington. So we've got some construction and financial and dental and so forth, where it's actually worked out. So our financial side and construction guys are all just still hopping along. So now it's all how do they go get remote work immediately, instantly. So we've been slammed with that. And then for the ones that have quieted down, it's going to help us take care of the other ones. And we've got some interesting situations like with dental where the offices are closed except for emergencies. So we're still running all of our monthly subscription things, all that are still in place. They just have reduced staff and kind of, but everything's still running in the back end. But yeah, we lucked out with our financial clients that are still needing all kinds of help, at least for right now.
Yeah. And Stephen, I have a question for you. For the audience that they don't know who you are, you're a Microsoft MVP. You head the Puget Sound Small Business Server User Group. It still meets once a month. And what are you hearing from the members of the SBS user group?
A lot of it has been, again, remote work. It's like everybody's been trying to go through, and also with ASCII group, we're all big on this true grid. We've been deploying it like crazy. So a lot of it's been basically remote access for the sites. So again, if they're doing manufacturing, construction, we have a lot of the people we deal with are essential businesses under that list. So unfortunately, the restaurants and those guys out there are really bad shape, but we also have like heating and cooling. So the refrigeration guys that keep those grocery stores going. So those guys are all hopping. Yeah, most of it's just been remote access for staff to keep people safe and have them work from home as much as they can.
Yep. And my friend and yours in the Puget Sound area, I see Stefan Allen Holt on. Hello, Stefan. Thanks for the shout out. Let's move on, how it relates to vendors. So here's what I'm seeing, and I think everybody's seeing, and I was in a conversation yesterday, is that the vendor community has beyond rallied to support this. And you see it in different stripes and different flavors. And one of the things, Corey, and I was in a conversation yesterday with an MSP from Alaska, and there's a certain, I mean, definitely the vendors are rallying. Now, that said, there's a certain finesse to the messaging. This individual up in Anchorage, Alaska, who went through a fairly large earthquake a year and a half ago, so he understood how to send people home and get them set up to work, and he's primed to do that. But Corey, he said it goes both ways. There's vendors where there's a sense of sincerity and wanting to help, and then there's vendors with messages he felt was exploiting the situation. I don't know if I don't want to put you on the spot, but we're here to make sure you're on the right side of the aisle, my friend.
Absolutely. I was telling someone the other night that I was watching TV, and I saw that a couple of the major car manufacturers are running ads that talk about deferring payments and protecting you against potential job loss during this time. And my general sense was, man, that is just a complete inability to read the room. I'm not sure people want to have deep conversations about bringing on new platforms and new technology right now. They want to understand, hey, if you legitimately want to help, ask me how you can help. Don't just put something in front of me and ram it down my throat. Come up with ways that you can help me that are efficient, that are easy, that are going to make sense for me economically, but be genuine about it and read the room, understand who you're talking to.
Yeah, no, you said it better than me. Well, let's keep moving on. So back to your point about having been mobile for over 20 years, and let's back up a second. So your founder, Rob, and I believe you came from the Gateway computer days. Is that correct? I know Rob did.
Correct. Rob was a senior VP at Gateway, and I was part of his organization working in product marketing.
And then as we know, technology shifts, and so now it's Rob's company, PCMatic. You're still with them, so you've been a home company for 20 years. You're proudly made in America. So are all of your employees in the U.S., or do you have some up in Canada, or do you have some overseas? I want to start with that when we talk about mobility.
Yeah, all 50 plus employees are here in the States. And, one of the things being a virtual company has allowed us to do is recruit from all over, and especially as it relates to our development team, being able to recruit from anywhere and everywhere and not have to rely on moving somebody across the country to work for us. So.
Yeah, and then another shout out to your uniqueness is, and I was just telling someone this morning, a retired CEO of a tech company down here in Austin about you, and that you run the periodically run the TV ads. I see CNBC, I believe CNN, MSNBC, some of the channels I happen to have on occasionally, and I've seen your ads. First of all, are you still doing the TV ads? And number two, do you think you may message into the TV buys with the current situation?
I think it's possible. Our approach to TV is fairly unique in the fact that we don't deal with any ad agencies. We produce all of our own stuff. Sometimes it shows in the fact that it looks pretty homespun, but it also gives us the ability to turn on a dime based on news of the day or ways that we think we could potentially help. So I wouldn't rule it out that we could possibly reference what's going on, and even include our relationships with our MSP partners as well as resources for the general public. It's definitely something that's under consideration.
Well, I think that's important, because what I liked about your ads was, I mean, you do have a B2C reputation, but you had ads where you were driving traffic to the partners on this call. So I remember that, in a distributor you were working with as well. So folks, I mean, they are driving traffic to help you make money. That's the point I want to make. All right, let's talk about the shock. So now that the initial shock is somewhat worn off for our partners, it's now become obvious every day that MSPs have never been more important, and they play a critical role in getting the business and the organizations through this. So Corey, talk to me. What are you thinking here?
I had a fascinating conversation with somebody that's part of the greater MSP community just yesterday, and the way we kind of framed this was you've got your short-term challenges right now, and addressing MSPs are trying to address immediate customer needs, which largely are going to be related to deploying remote workforces. But the conversation I thought was fascinating is we started to talk about long-term what this means. What happens on the other side of this, and what opportunities exist for MSPs potentially on the other side of this? And the example that came up in this conversation was, look at the restaurant industry. And I think I saw an interview last night on CNBC where someone suggested that as many as 75% of restaurants may not come back. And the person that was the subject matter expert suggested that maybe restaurants become more and more virtual. So what does that mean for those that want to become virtual? And from a technology standpoint, what could an MSP do to potentially support that whole transition? And that is just one vertical to consider here, not to even mention all the other verticals that are going to be impacted by what's going to happen with the economy here. But that to me is kind of the fascinating thing. If we can suspend the shock and address the immediate needs, is to start looking long term at what this looks like on the other side.
Yeah, I correlate it to, many a man and woman have gone to their grave broke trying to time financial markets, because the temptation's there right now. Boy, the Dow, dropped 10,000 points, and what goes down must come up. But boy, you can go to your grave as a day trader versus the long-term view what Warren Buffett and other true investors would encourage. My son, he's taken a little pocket change and has been trading back and forth. He's in aerospace, and he's young. He'll do fine. But it is my situation's completely different. And the point is, it ties to the hysteria. I'm trying to correlate to the shock and the hysteria with traders, and that will increasingly wear off over the next couple of weeks. Folks, I want to encourage you to ask questions using the question feature, and Jenny over there is going to try to bring you on live. We're kind of trying to make this a roundtable, open conversation. We end with a specific offer and incentive from PCMatic that helps you help your customers. Jenny, what do you see? And I see a red light just popped up.
Yep, we're going to bring Kevin here on live. Just give me a moment here.
And
Kevin,
folks,
are you there?
I'm here. Can you folks hear me?
Perfect, we can.
Kevin Harry here. If you don't mind, tell us your full name, maybe your company name, and where are you located before your commentary?
Sure. Kevin Torner. Company name currently is Watchpoint Data. We sell a product called Crypto Stopper that detects and stops ransomware. But I was an MSP for over 20 years. I'm a former partner and still a friend of Corey's. And we are working together a little bit. I'm located in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
All right, sir. Well, what's your story? What say you?
Well, being from Cedar Rapids, Iowa, we've been through a disaster here too. We had a huge flood in 2008. We've had some other quote unquote natural disasters in our area. And one of the things I can address, and I think every one of our MSP partners, friends, acquaintances, and vendors for that matter, need to be keeping top of mind on the other side of this thing. There's going to be tremendous churn in the industry. I know after being an MSP that everyone is trying to do the right thing. Everybody's got their customers' best interests at heart. And maybe customers have a different perception. They always do. I know in personal experience, we had customers that during our flood, we actually housed them in our building for 3, 4, 5 months, and we didn't charge them a dime's rent. And coming out of it, they were forever grateful, promised to be partners for life, et cetera, et cetera. Within 6 months or a year, every one of those customers were shopping us.
Hmm.
And it's just human nature, because the big boys are going to come after the smaller guys. Everybody's going to have a talking point about, well, during the corona virus, we did this and we did this, and we're the best, and call us for a quote. I'm concerned about a race to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want our MSP friends to kind of be prepared for that coming out of the other side. They have to start thinking now about how they're going to defend, how they're going to protect, and there's nothing the matter with considering how they can expand and take advantage of the excellent service they've had.
Yeah, I would add to this, and thank you, sir, for your contribution. I would add to this really wise commentary in 2009 from Arlen Sorensen, who's kind of up in your part of the world with his HTG, both his, at the time, his MSP practice and his HTG peer groups. And he said, he's the only one I heard say it, 2009, so I'm talking financial crisis. And he said more MSPs are going to go broke coming out of the recession than going into the recession for some of these same reasons that you were sharing, the long tail effect of the disruption, and payroll comes every 2 weeks. And again, that was a different kind of crisis, but point well taken. You just need to be thinking strategically. Let's move on. Okay, Corey,
Harry,
back to you. Or Chitty,
Harry,
sorry, go ahead.
we have
Yeah,
one more question. Do you want to take it now or wait a little bit?
no, let's take it now.
All right, Larry, I'm going to bring you on.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Hey, is that Larry over in Dublin? I talked to you this morning. 7
Yeah,
a.m.
oh yeah, yeah.
We interviewed you, sir. What's going on?
I just had a query there. I suppose it ties into what you've just been saying actually, about, I suppose, that cutoff, like how are people going to manage bad debts versus trying to keep your clients in business and not be too hard of them. We all try and take it easy on our clients and give them extra credit days and a bit more leeway to pay and payment plans and that kind of stuff. I'd just be interested to hear how people are managing that.
Yeah, Corey, I don't know if you have any data points on MSPs and the flexibility of working with their clients on remittances and that kind of thing. I don't know. I haven't had many conversations yet.
Yeah, most of what I've got is pretty anecdotal, but I'm hearing about it. I'm hearing about MSPs that are dealing with customers that are contacting them asking for a pause on their invoicing, trying to renegotiate terms. So one of the things I've encouraged everyone to do, and we've tried to develop some flexibility with our partners, is to lean on your vendors in this case. Let them know exactly what you're dealing with and what you're trying to cope with, and see what flexibility they have. We're trying to do what we can to lead there and hope that other vendors follow suit. But I think now is the time for these partners to really lean on vendors and ask for some assistance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Agreed. All right, got a new slide up. Committed to finding ways to help. PCMatic is committed to finding ways to help. And then the announcement last week. So let's talk about that. What is the basic announcement from PCMatic for MSPs?
Yes. So fundamentally, what we decided to do was just open up the platform and make it available for free. As it relates to our MSP partners, what we're doing is any current or future PCMatic MSP partner can add an unlimited number of customers and endpoints to their account at no cost between now and the end of June. In June, then we'll sit down and revisit and review each account, and we'll come up with a best way forward. But the thing we wanted to do was, again, try to make it simple, make it easy, and make some sense economically for our partners. And this is what we thought would be the best thing we could possibly do. And we've since then expanded it into offering it to some of our K-12 customers and some of our professional platform customers that we work through the channel. But the first thing we wanted to do was make sure our partners were armed with this, and it just is what it is. Take the software for free. We think there's some elements that can help address some of the immediate short-term concerns, and then long-term, obviously, we feel like it has benefits too. But just something we're trying to do to offer real help.
Well, appreciate it. That does seem sincere. So here we're talking about some MSPs are somewhat well prepared for what is happening. Others are looking for secure solutions they can quickly deploy. Corey, go ahead.
Now, that was something that came up in a conversation I had yesterday with one of our MSP partners. Was they felt pretty well equipped to address this. They had some remote pieces that they could easily offer up. Their stack was well thought out. But there's others that are now kind of scrambling. They don't have a remote solution to necessarily offer up to a customer in need, and those folks are scrambling. They're looking for something that they can easily offer up and easily deploy and manage. But at the same time, keeping in mind that they've got their own challenges of resources. Maybe they don't have as many field techs anymore, and how exactly. What platforms are going to allow them to be efficient in the face of all those challenges?
Yeah, when I think of, I've had some interesting conversations. I posted on social, not so much the written word, but my sister's husband is an emergency room doctor in Seattle. So he's a career doctor, and he's right at the epicenter of this. Actually, I think the epicenter is now in New York City, but you get the point. And in talking with wise people, Corey, a lot of the contingency planning that I'm hearing is it's based off the 1918 Spanish flu, right? They're going to the sort of the worst case scenario. And so apparently, I'm not a doctor, I play one on YouTube, but apparently there were three there were three waves, right? So wave number one, and it went away with the summer or something. Wave number two, when the temperature got cold, and then wave number three was devastating. And apparently it morphed a little bit each time. And so I just want to insert this into the conversation that, first of all, we don't completely know what's happening, but Corey, this pandemic, man, I mean, this thing could take some waves, right? And there would be sort of illusionary optimism in July when things seem to get back to normal, and then here comes November. Point is, it relates to the screen that you got to be prepared for the worst case scenario. Does that make sense?
I think it makes absolute sense, and I think some folks realize they planned accordingly. Others are realizing what gaps now exist in those plans, and they're scrambling to fill them. So,
Yep, folks, be sure if you want to just make comments or ask questions, use the question feature over in the dashboard. Jenny is doing a great job of bringing people on live to ask your question live, but we do need to know you have a question, and we'll continue. So maybe we can start to bring Devin into the conversation, sir. Let's double click down into, I don't know if we'll get to the API level today, but just above the API level.
All right. Yeah, we'll keep it just a little bit above that level there. Yeah, I think it's just some good information about, some of the main features of our solution and what you can do with it. Like Corey said, it gives you the opportunity to, have a solution to deploy out for customers' extra machines or, remote machines that they have. We've got remote tools built right into our software. So not only do you have a security solution that you can deploy out, but it's got a CNC that's integrated into it. So, the MSP could use it to remote into customer machines. They could set it up for customer access as well. So you could, if they've got employees that need to access their work PCs from their home PCs, you can get it set up so that they can jump in there and use the remote tools for that as well. So it gives them the ability to, again, have it all just inside of one solution there.
So I probably need to get a demo from you, my friend, because we have used you in the past. I bought another PC and probably need to use you again. But the point is, I've known PCMatic for some time and always kind of went to the default of the antivirus protection, but you're doing more now. Corey, it sounds like I need a demo.
We will be happy to arrange that, Harry. No problem.
Yeah, you're doing more than the last time I double clicked down. All right, folks, be sure to use the questions feature. Again, if you just want to chat it up, we're probably at a good point for that. And so we're talking about the generous community-based offer from PCMatic, so /COVID-19. Jenny, are we seeing people? We've always got talkers in our crowd, even if they don't have a question. I know everybody's got an opinion.
No, and just a reminder, if you don't want to type your question out, you can also just raise your hand and I can see that as well and I can bring you on. But we do have, Kevin did say kudos to PCMatic. So.
Okay, cool.
Oh, and we're going to bring Steve Banks back on here momentarily.
All right, Steve, hello.
I was expecting back on speaker, but yeah, I just want to say thank you for the offer. This is really nice of you. We're kind of one of those ones that are pretty much preset, ready to roll, but it's very, it's kind of the cool part of the community when you're doing stuff like this for us. I really appreciate you guys doing this. So, yeah. And I think we'll take a demo too, just check it out and see, since you guys are making the offer. It's very kind of you, so I appreciate that.
Absolutely, and like I said, we've done what we can to try to lead the charge, but I think many of us have probably seen there are some pretty big lists of resources that are available to MSPs right now from various vendors, not just security like us or remote management. And I don't know if Harry's curated that list yet, but I'm sure it's been shared any number of times on LinkedIn and other social media. So if you haven't seen those, I'd encourage everyone to check it out, because I've been encouraged to see that other vendors are stepping up and doing the right thing here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Corey, what I did, and I am gonna continue to update this blog. I'll write a new blog, but folks, if you go to smbnation.com right now, you'll see a piece that I dropped over the weekend called the 36-month opportunity for MSPs with remote worker setup. And here's what I mean. And Corey, this is not at odds with your early comment about the surge right now for remote workers, and that's going to subside. But I had some conversations around the industry, including a lady that is an in-house IT pro at a large national railroad. She works in Dallas, and they have tens of thousands of VPN configuration requests from employees. I'm not making this up. Well, maybe thousands. I don't know about tens of thousands, but it's overwhelming her IT department. Everybody wants to work from home. And, with the railroad, of course, they're going to want to have a secure connection as quickly as possible. I had another conversation with a lady that just started in San Antonio at, I believe, one of the credit card call centers, like, Corey, how you get a credit card that says Southwest Airlines on it or Alaska Airlines. That's one of those, backed by a bank. And same thing, they're sending the call center home. And what I talk about in the piece, and this is why it's 3 years, or my conclusion is it's 3 years, is Steve Banks, the clients you have, and you have them well managed and all that, let's assume you're going to take care of that in a few days or a couple of weeks. But the sheer magnitude of this paradigm shift to remote work, when you start talking credit card call centers and railroads, state of Alaska, I talked to them out at the Anchorage International Airport. Their employees want to go home from the airport. Corey, this is monumental. I mean, this is going to take years. You thought we were taking time with XP migrations in April of 2014. That literally went on for 3 years. You could go to a restaurant and still see Windows XP at the point of sale, the embedded version. But point is, this is a multi-year opportunity. And what I talk about in the piece is, again, I get it with SMB and MSPs, and you're probably going to get your arms around it. but you may well have an expanded business model where you're either doing project work or contingent labor staffing work for the railroad. I mean, there's going to be very interesting long-term opportunities for the right person on this call today.
I think you're exactly right. It kind of feeds into what we talked about, what happens to the verticals. We talked about restaurants and what technology needs are evolving there. I think it's limitless, really, that the impact this is going to have on everyday life and how that translates into different technology needs that are not going to be able to be addressed by in-house IT staff. It's going to have to be co-managed IT or MSPs that are doing the work. So.
Yeah, it's yeah, I'll just leave it at that. That well spoken. Okay, folks, let's do any other statements or commentary you'd like to make. Jenny's manning the radio control room.
Harry, we do have another question. We have someone saying that they're not familiar with the product. Are you offering a free demo? So maybe if you can talk about if you're offering it, maybe how people can get a hold of you, or you'll reach out to them, or kind of go into a little bit more about that.
Yep, absolutely. So we can arrange for a demo. Devin, who's on the call, actually takes care of those for us. We'll schedule it individually. We've got some on-demand options. Really two ways to get a hold of us. Either go to PCMatic.com/COVID-19. There's a simple registration form. Then my team will follow up with you and get that scheduled. Or if you want to email us at partners@PCMatic.com, same thing. We'll be able to get in touch with you and schedule a demo. And then if it's something you want to move forward with, we can help you with deployment and in management right away. And it's something we take a lot of pride in being able to turn around rather quickly. You're not going to spend weeks waiting to hear from us. You're not going to spend weeks waiting for some sort of partner application to get approved. The other thing we've made a real concerted effort to do is ramp up our onboarding and our support efforts now, knowing that, again, some of our partners are lacking resources they normally would have access to. They can definitely lean on our onboarding and support guys even more so now. So all of that's available to you, and if you reach out to us, we'll get back in contact.
All righty. Well, Jenny, is the deck clear so we can get everybody out to deploy remote offices?
It is at this time.
All right. Well, hey, folks, I just, by way of example, I am literally, I found a box of blue gloves. I'm actually going to do, it's 100 gloves and I only need a couple. So I'm actually going to take them up to a clinic nearby when I go run an errand later, maybe keep 10 for myself. But I'm doing what I can. I'll end on this. I made mention that my sister's husband is an emergency room doctor in Seattle, Washington. He is 61 years old, and Joe Panettiere, a blogger in our space, said it best. I want to steal his line. He said, Corey, your health is my health, and then my health is Dr. Bob's health, right? So that's why we wear blue gloves, right? I may do just fine. That's not the point. But when I see Dr. Bob, I certainly don't want to, cause problems for a medical doctor in an emergency room in Seattle. So there you are.
Well said. Well said.
All right, Corey, take us out and we'll call it good. Thank you, folks.
All right. Thanks, Harry. We appreciate you having us.
All right. Thanks, Jenny. That worked well. Our new approach. We'll do more of it. Bye-bye.